I can tell you the Australian story. Is 75% of people in Australia live in the cities. And so all their food is grown in the country. So huge amounts of peanuts are grown. They're harvested, they're put in the silo. You get a cold, frosty morning, a hot, sunny day, and moisture buildup happens inside the silo. So what happens when moisture builds up? Where does mold thrive? Moist environments. Yeah. And so what alerted Dr. Colin Campbell to this is that every jar of peanut butter that he tested had a mold called Aspergillus. And Aspergillus is a mold that gives off a mold waste called aflatoxin. And aflatoxin directly affects the liver. So he found the cause. But he presumed that the poor children would be dying and the wealthy children would be living. But he was shocked when he discovered the opposite was true. The poor children were living and the wealthy children were dying. You see, as a doctor, he was taught, in fact, they spend about 2 hours on nutrition in 7 years. Doesn't make much sense. Mm-hmm. Because we are what we are because of the food that we're giving our body. It's like Michael and I asking our sons to do an extension on our house, and they're excellent tradesmen, and they come with their tools, but there's no building material. And they say, where's the timber? And they say, oh, sorry, I couldn't afford the timber. Or can you just chop down a couple of those trees? No, that's not good quality. You need the best quality wood. To expect the body to function and heal without giving it the effective nutrients. And after the break, we're going to define the nutrients in more detail. Minerals, vitamins, proteins, good fats. You can't expect the body to heal unless you're giving it the nourishment it needs to heal. So why were the wealthy children dying? Well, the poorer children, the only change was diet. The poorer children, they couldn't afford the meat sweet diet, which what Time magazine called what the city Chinese are eating. They couldn't afford those meats. They couldn't afford the cheeses and the refined sugars and the refined breads and cereals. It's called the meat sweet diet. So yes, that high sweet was feeding the cancer, but there was something in the meat, something in the dairy products. And he found that it was the proteins and the sugars that were really accelerating cancer. Because in the country, the country Chinese, they were eating a lot of vegetables, a lot of greens, a little bit of fish, a little bit of soy. And the cancer was not developing in the country children. And what Dr. Colin Campbell found, that he could switch cancer on and off by the amount of meat and dairy products he was giving the rats. Because when cancer breaks down in the body, when meat breaks down in the body, it leaves a massive waste. The fact is, 58% is burnt as fuel with meat. So what does that leave? That leaves a 42% waste, and it's a sulfur waste which is highly acidic. So acid waste. So that was another aspect. And that's why everyone should be their own doctor, because what we find is there are different things that come together in every case. So what some people, when they hear about the meat and how it creates an acid environment, they'll go to the other extreme and go on the high carbohydrate diet. which actually is just as bad, just in another way. It's like one lady said, what's worse, aspartame or sugar? I said, how do you want to die?
You see?
What's worse, margarine or butter? How do you want to die? You know, they both have their dangers. So here was another aspect, was the high meat diet, but also what he found is the mold factor. And we have several books in our library at home showing the link between cancer and fungus. But at that point, I would like to have a break. We're going to have a 10-minute break, and when we come back, I'm going to explore that one a little bit more. And I'm also going to go through the diet and the protocol that Elizabeth Cobb and many others have been able to conquer cancer. So let's have a break. It's 11:05, so we should come back at 11:15 and continue our investigation. Thank you.
They come in different styles. They put in EM, yeah. And they come in different styles. I just have to kind of circle. They all straight in my tongue, which is that's pretty much so you make it like
pues nosotros la seguimos, tú sabes. Y ella dice que apenas está en su casa porque viaja demasiado. Y entonces me dijo que si vamos a hacer un evento probablemente sea para el 2026 porque está lleno. ¿Cómo?
Okay, so we are ready to start
Bueno, va a
again.
empezar así que te
And
llaman.
I want to see how many of you are in this building for the first time today. Okay. So for the first time today, okay. Now, there's some good news for some of you. I'm not sure if we can do for everybody, but you've heard Barbara reference a book called Ministry of Healing. Okay, so the good news that included in the price of admission today is this book too. Okay? For those of you who, I guess, like orange, color orange, and let me show you. So there are two books. One is the Ministry of Healing that Barbara referenced, and the other one is Steps to Christ. In your, some of you went already and got it. That's good. You are proactive. But Finding Peace. I think it's the title. It's the same book, but it's a different title.
Okay.
Okay. So if you don't get it today, you're gonna have to come back tomorrow, and we'll get it to you tomorrow again. And if you've been here before, talk to me after, because we have other ways of you getting it, because we want to make sure everybody has it. Also, we have some of these flyers that basically advertise this series. If you have friends, if you have neighbors, if you have family members, hey, if you have enemies. But
That's the number one.
if you think that they need to hear and they need to come, who knows? Maybe that will be the last day they'll be your enemy. Okay, you will destroy them and they become your friends. So take one and share it with them. Tomorrow we're going to be here again at 10 o'clock. And the topic is gut health, chronic fatigue, and IBS. So please make sure you come, and we will share a little bit more at the end, some announcements once Barbara is.
Take another one. Okay. Thank you. Oh, you got it. Thank you and welcome back. Have I got voice? Really strange to see rain because I've just come from Dubai and Saudi Arabia. It never rains. One of the reasons why I found it difficult to adjust and got this. It's so cold inside and so hot outside. I find that maybe if I lived there, I'd eventually adjust. So let's continue looking at all the little threads that can come together to cause cancer. Also understanding that fungus is an opportunist organism. So in the cycle of life, it's part of bringing matter back to dust. That's what the carbon cycle or the cycle does. It brings matter back to dust. But the environment has to be right for its growth. And we've had a few guests. I'll give you a few stories to illustrate. But by the way, Elizabeth Kott, the Polish lady who conquered her cancer, she was very, very clean. Her house was spotless. So there wasn't actually a mold factor with her. But with some, it can be. If there's anything I've learned on my many years of being on planet Earth, is never to be absolute. because what can be a big causative factor with one may not be such a big causative factor with another. It's like the breast surgeon that said he's alarmed at how many young women are getting breast cancer in the breast, where they put their mobile phone into that bra. You can even buy a sports bra today that's got a pocket in it for a mobile phone. So can you see that? That is another factor. And also, if a woman is at the computer a lot, the electromagnetic field coming off that computer going straight to the breast area. But also with the breast is underwire bras. The lymphatic system sweeps away waste from the tissue, and breast tissue is predominantly lymphatic tissue. And that wire blocks the very area where the lymphatic tissue, it drains into the nodes under the arm. So that is another factor. Also, exposure to chemicals, that's another factor. And how many bras are made out of synthetic material? Nylon, acrylic, and polyester were created in a chemical laboratory. So we've got to go back to natural fibre. So there are some natural fibres that you may not be familiar with in that they are made from wood pulp. One is viscose. Viscose is made from bamboo. And rayon is made from wood pulp. And modal, M-O-D-A-L, it's the cellulose spun from the birch tree. So the stockings that I have on today are viscose and wool. And yes, I've been to Scotland recently. My woolen skirt. And this little blazer I have on is linen and viscose. So just be mindful of especially what's touching your skin. See, men, they have cotton underpants, cotton undershirts, cotton shirts, cotton jeans, whereas the ladies, they like the pretty things. Often those pretty things are made out of these unnatural fibres. So with breast cancer, there can certainly be a hormone aspect. And let me show you there. Yes, I did say I was going to give you some stories, and I certainly will, but I wanted to just establish a few other things. So with hormones, the number one hormone is progesterone. The reason I call this the number one hormone, because progesterone is often given the name mother, because progesterone is the precursor for the sons. That's testosterone, the male hormone. Also the precursor for the daughters, and they're called estrogen. Now, estrogen's role in the body is that of a cell proliferator. Cell proliferator means causes massive cell growth. So it's estrogen that causes the skinny young girl to develop into a beautiful, shapely woman. Estrogen's important, but it needs to be under the control of mother. What mother hormone does is keeps estrogen where it should be. And it also plays a protective role on testosterone, because when testosterone levels convert into dehydroxytestosterone, that can cause inflammation of the prostate, even contributing to prostate cancer. So for men, prostate cancer. For women, breast cancer, uterine cancer, ovarian cancer, there's definitely a hormonal aspect. The contraceptive pill, which is high in synthetic estrogen, causes a rise in estrogen and a drop in progesterone. Those chemical fabrics that I just related to you, they can cause this rise in estrogen. Plastics. We're awash with plastics today. When I was a little girl, I went to school, the sandwiches were wrapped in greaseproof paper in a brown paper bag. But today, everything's in plastic. So be careful of your exposure to plastic because it contains something called phenyl, and estrogen contains the phenyl ring. So many plastics are estrogen mimickers. And growth stimulants given to cattle, growth stimulants given to chickens, also in the eggs. Can you see that all of these, like the dripping tap on a stone, are causing this rise in estrogen and drop in progesterone? Estrogen as a cell proliferator, and the Australian Health Department have stated that estrogen is a known human carcinogen because of its cell proliferator action. So how can we boost mother and get estrogen under control? My daughter, who lives in Wisconsin, she sells a cream called Comfort Yam Cream. And this Comfort Yam Cream, now she'll be here, she gets in today in the afternoon. I don't know, because I've been traveling so much, whether she'll be bringing some with her, but if she doesn't, you can order it through her website. Website's easy, barbara'o'neill.com. It's very easy. What the Comfort Yam Cream contains is a plant chemical called diosgenin. Diosgenin, when it's applied to the skin, the fat cells take it up and it stimulates the pathway that your body uses to make progesterone. So applying that cream, it's usually applied twice a day, 3 weeks a month, when a woman's not menstruating. She's not menstruating anymore, she just leaves 1 week off a month. What about a man if he's got prostate cancer? He applies it twice a day, every day, because men are not cyclic like women. But can you see, whether it be man or woman, you've got to get progesterone up. Progesterone also stimulates the release of osteoblast cells. They're your bone building cells. Many women who are on the pill in their teens and their 20s, now in their 50s, 60s, are finding they have breast cancer, prostate cancer, also osteoporosis. And all of those respond to applying the yam cream. Because remember what it does? It boosts mother hormone. When you reinstate mother hormone, that hormone immediately brings estrogen and testosterone back to where they should be. A beautiful illustration of Psalm 104 verse 14, where God gave herbs for the service of man. They come in to work with you. Drugs, they say, get out of my way, I've got a job to do whether you need it or not. Drugs are like robots. I must, whether you need it or not. And that's an important factor in all endocrine cancers. How long would a person need to be on the yam cream for? And by the way, how long does it last? Usually lasts about 3 months. And that cream should be applied at least 1 year. All endocrine cancers, if it's a man, prostate, if it's a woman, any cancer in the reproductive organs. There are several different types of cancers, but we find that there are some basics that they all respond to because of what cancer hates and what cancer loves. So I'm going to show you the basic program that we find very effective. Number 1, we must starve this cancer. And when you look at the basic functions of cancer and the basic functions of fungus, they're very similar. Very similar. Fungus loves high glucose. Fungus cannot live in the presence of oxygen. And fungus thrives in an acid environment, very similar. So how do we start a low glucose diet? So what we suggest is no fruit for 6 weeks. One lady said, but fruit's good. I said, fruit's fantastic. But fruit is high in fibre, high in glucose, low in minerals. Vegetables, high in fibre, high in minerals, low in sugars. And there are some fruits, they've got the classification of fruit because they've got the seed in them, but they're very low glucose. That's avocado, lemon, tomato, cucumber, zucchini, pumpkin or squash. Only for 6 weeks. Elizabeth Cott did this 10 years ago or 12 years ago. What was 6 weeks? What it's designed to do, and this is what one writer called it, it's designed to give a sledgehammer effect to cancer cells. Because remember what they love? They consume 15 times the glucose. They're up here in this vast pathway, consuming huge amounts of glucose. Dr. Holland, in the book that he wrote with Doug Kaufman called The Germ That Causes Cancer, he also looks at the link between fungus and cancer. He said when you deprive cancer cells of glucose, they self-destruct. So it's just initially. In my book, Self-Heal by Design, which we will have available tomorrow, I have the programs outlined in there. So after 6 weeks, well, what do we do for the first 6 weeks? There's so many vegetables, and there's so many legumes, and there's so many nuts and so many seeds that you can easily have a different meal every day. And so a typical diet would be, for breakfast, sliced tomato, maybe a whole avocado, maybe some greens, olives, and a bowl of lentils. And remember, lentils are tasteless. If they don't taste any good, it's your own fault. You haven't put enough herbs in there. I love the Italian herb mix, where you haven't put enough salt in. And the best salt is the Celtic salt. It's the whole salt. It has 82 minerals in it. Celtic or Baja Celtic salt. Celtic salt is a hand-harvested sea salt from the coast of France. Or Baja salt. That's hand-harvested from the coast in Mexico. Now, they both contain approximately 82 minerals. Seawater contains 92. The salt that you buy on the supermarket shelf contains 2. Sodium chloride. Mix sodium chloride up with water to make a seawater mix and put the fish from the ocean in that, they all die. In Matthew chapter 5 verse 13, the Bible says, ye are the salt of the earth. If the salt has lost its savour, wherewith shall it be salted? It is henceforth good for nothing to be cast out and trodden underfoot of men. How does the salt lose its savour? I'd like to suggest that refined salt has lost its savour. It's lost all the other minerals. In Germany, I'm not sure. I think every country has its own yam cream, so it's a matter of searching out. But look at your ingredients. It should be very simple ingredients. And if there's words that you don't understand, Google them. But as long as it contains the extract of wild yam or extract of diostin. And so one lady said that she had lentils on Monday, black-eyed beans on Tuesday, cannelloni beans Wednesday, organic tofu Thursday, kidney beans Friday. See, there's so many legumes. You can have quite a nice variety. And in the back of my book, Self-Heal by Design, I have several recipes, but it's mostly all for legumes because I find that's an area many people don't know how to cook. Lots of vegetables. Have a nice variety with vegetables. I said to one man, "How are you finding the diet?" He said, "I'm alive." So with starve the fungus, yes, go on the fruit-free diet for 6 weeks. Also, check your exposure to mould. There must not be any mould in the house. One young woman, she's only 35, a very sad story. She had advanced breast cancer. She's the mother of 3 children. And she told me about her house. So here was her house, and great big trees all around the house. What does that mean? There's not fresh air and sun getting in. And this was the sunny side of the house. And her bedroom was at the back. Then she had a wardrobe, and then she had the bathroom. But see the trees? There was no sun getting into the bathroom. And all her shoes and her belts were always going mouldy. So there's no sun getting into the bedroom. And it had a big corridor, and here were the children's bedrooms here, and bathroom, children's bedrooms. But the sun came through in the big windows there and came through here. And this bathroom had a window on it. No, there are bathrooms today that don't have windows. Every bathroom should have a window. You don't have a window in your bathroom, make sure you've got a fan. When you finish the shower, keep the fan on for another half hour. Got to keep that bathroom dry because mould thrives in moist, warm environments. It's a very sad story. Her husband was away all day and she was the cleaner. So she was always cleaning the mould off. But when you wipe that mould, you're breathing in the mould spores. And she'd been on the pill when she was younger. So her estrogen levels were high. And she had this mould exposure. It was a very sad story. She only lived another 3 months. It's very sad because it was extremely advanced. She had no idea about the hormone factor. She had no idea about the mould. And that's why I wrote my book, Self-Heal by Design, because I was confronted with the fact that so many people don't realise the danger of mould. There must not be any mould in your house. And in my book, Self-Heal by Design, I look at the history of mould and I look at the Bible. You know, the Bible says if there's mould in the house, you've got to destroy the house. You don't necessarily have to destroy it. You maybe get the plumber in. Like with this lady, you've got to chop those trees down. You've got to get some ventilation in there. You've got to get some skylights and get sun into the rooms, you know. Sometimes it can be saved. Also, exposure to chemicals. We had one lady with stomach cancer and she worked in a plastic factory. So she's breathing and swallowing in chemicals. Very sad story. She had major stomach cancer and she was on pain-killing medication. Within the 3rd day, she'd reduced that pain-killing medication by 3/4 because we discovered that her bowels hadn't opened for 6 days. So once we got the bowels moving, it took pressure off the stomach and reduced her pain levels right down. So starve, not just dietary-wise, but also exposure to chemicals and also exposure to mould. Number 2, kill. I do think we've got to get away from the kill mentality. But the good news is that there are herbs that will kill fungus, kill cancer and won't kill you. Garlic is a good one. And ideally with the herbs, you alternate them. Because the microorganisms, the bacteria, yeast and funguses, they adapt and adjust. And that's why this overuse of antibiotics that we're exposed to today has produced superbugs. They've had so much drugs thrown at them that they've adapted and adjusted, and now nothing kills them. That's why it's important to know how these microorganisms work on planet Earth, and if they are present in the body, why are they there? So alternate the herbs, usually 1 or 2 weeks, you change the herb. So one is garlic, and if it's taken as raw garlic, that might be 3 raw cloves a day. Not everyone can handle raw garlic, but if you have a bowl of hot soup and crush a clove into the hot soup, it calms it a little bit. Most people can handle it like that. Or mash it with avocado. That calms it a little bit. Another nice thing you can do is baked potato, open it, and have crushed garlic and olive oil and salt. A spoonful of that's in your baked potato, very nice. So the olive oil can calm that down a little bit. So it might be garlic for a week or 2. Another one is olive leaf extract. Olive leaf extract contains plant chemicals that are able to kill fungus. Another one is grapefruit seed extract. Have you ever eaten a grapefruit and bitten on the seed? You'll think the grapefruit is sweet. Very bitter, strong, volatile oils that have antifungal properties. So when you use the olive leaf extract, it's just something like 5 drops in a little bit of water 3 times a day. For olive leaf extract, it can be a teaspoon 3 times a day. Another one, which is a strong antifungal herb, is portiaco. That's a South American herb. And another one is the essential oil oregano. You call it oregano, right? It's very strong, so you just start with 2 drops in water 3 times a day. And on the 3rd day, you can often go to 3 or 4 drops. Just that's enough because it's very strong. So you alternate those herbs, and when you've gone through all of those herbs, you can start again. So number 1, we're starving it. Number 2, we're killing. Number 3, alkalize. So the most alkalizing foods, and in my books, Self-Heal by Design, I have a whole chapter on the acid-alkaline balance, but all your vegetables are alkalizing, especially dark green leafy vegetables. They're very alkalizing. So what we did with Elizabeth Cott, when we do this at Misty Mountain, we gather 4 different wild greens. Might be pumpkin tips, might be plantain, the herb plantain, might be parsley, but any edible green herb. And we always put mint in to make it taste a bit better. So it's usually 4 cups of greens, 4 cups of water, blend it and strain it. Put it into bottles. That's usually 4 of those a day. You live in the city, so you don't have access to that. You can use green barley powder, mix that with a little lemon and water, or super greens, or chlorophyll. But those greens are very alkalizing. So she drank on an average 3 to 4 drinks a day, the green drinks. Also to alkalize, we have a hyperbaric chamber. A hyperbaric chamber, it pumps oxygen in under pressure. And they were first developed to help deep sea divers that get bends. You see, the air that we're breathing is 79% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. When they come up too quickly from deep sea, they can't release the nitrogen quick enough, so they go into bubbles in their muscles and joints. It's very, very painful. It's called the bends. So they developed the hyperbaric chamber that puts pressure, puts oxygen in under pressure. And Henry's law states that more gas goes into liquid under pressure. And so that's how the hyperbaric chamber works. But when a person has a hyperbaric chamber, it really boosts their oxygen levels. Remember, cancer hates oxygen. Now, when Elizabeth Cott attended our program, we didn't have the hyperbaric chamber then. But to ensure that you're getting adequate oxygen, that's why exercise is very important. And gardeners that might have mold on anything, they spray it with sodium bicarbonate. In the old days, when we used to clean multi bathrooms with sodium bicarbonate. There is a doctor, he was an oncologist, his name's Dr. Tullio Simoncini, Italian oncologist. He was injecting sodium bicarbonate into his cancer patients, straight into the cancer, and it would just give a wave of alkalinity, and the cancer couldn't survive, because remember what cancer loves, it doesn't. He was getting 90% success rate with cancer, until one of his patients died. So the pharmaceutical companies targeted that. They put him into jail under a charge of manslaughter. All his qualifications have been taken away from him. Apparently he's out of jail. My husband said if only he'd injected the patient with chemotherapy, he would not have been put into jail. Is that right?
Yeah.
And how many die from chemo, but there's no accountability? I don't know the story of the patient that died. Was he about to die? Do you know we had a lady died out of the bed? She'd been given 5 days to live 7 days ago. The daughter brought her. As soon as we looked at her, we thought, oh dear, this lady looks like she's about to die.
Mm.
Do you know, was it a case like that? And we didn't have any trouble because, she was about to die anyway. And her daughter brought her hoping that something could be done with the pancreatic cancer. Her face, her skin was just yellow.
Mm.
And we're an hour and a half from the airport, we're a long way away. And I didn't see this lady till, this was about 5 years ago, till the last consultation, and I thought, oh yeah, she could leave, she couldn't leave. I said to the daughter, your mum's very sick. She said, well, what do you want me to do, take her home? I said, well, we'll see how she is in the morning, we can't throw the mountain away out in the bush. And she actually passed at 10 o'clock the next day. Very, very sad. It's just an illustration to show that sometimes people come very, very late. They've tried everything and just got worse. One lady said to me, I had breast cancer, they took off my breast, they gave me chemotherapy, radiotherapy. 3 months later, they said, you're totally cured. She said 1 year later, she said, I got bone cancer. Was she totally cured? I did chemo, radiotherapy again. 3 months later, said, oh, you're cured. A year later, she gets brain cancer and liver cancer. By the time she came to us, it was very, very advanced. She said, I'm upset. She said, hearing everything that you're talking about, she said, this is what I would have wanted, but my family pressured me. She said, I never wanted to do it. Very sad. Very sad. Sometimes if there's a lot of pressure by family, you've got to buy a ticket to Australia or something. And they're doing the best they know because they only know the medical way. This is why chemotherapy has an effect, because the cancer cell consumes 15 times the chemotherapy as a healthy cell. So when someone has chemotherapy, the cancer cells are consuming it at a higher rate. It's a gamble. They just hope more cancer cells die than good cells. But God has given us an incredible immune system, and that immune system is what fights disease. And chemotherapy just totally destroys your immune system, so it doesn't make sense. One lady said to me, I had a tumour so big it was blocking my colon, I had chemotherapy and it shrunk it. And she said, and I survived. Yes, I think chemo saved her life. But it would have come back if she hadn't come to Misty Mountain and changed her lifestyle. So I do acknowledge that. There are people that had chemotherapy 15 years ago and they're still going. Absolutely. But it goes like this with the figures. If you survive 5 years after chemotherapy, it says you're cured, even if you die the next day, because you made 5 years. But we've had several doctors attend our program with cancer. They don't want to do chemotherapy. They said, we've seen what it does. If you go into a chemotherapy waiting room, it's the most dismal place because the people feel so terrible on it. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm a teacher. I teach people how to give their body the right conditions for healing. So about 15 years ago, an American doctor gave me a recipe for sodium bicarbonate wraps. And the recipe is to use 2 kilos of sodium bicarbonate mixed in 5 litres of very hot water with the juice of a lemon. And you dip the towel in to this mix, wring it out, and then you put it around the torso and then cover that with a woolen blanket. Cannot be polyester, cannot be cotton blanket, must be wool. Then you dip the towel again, wring it out and do the leg. And what we do then is we put it in a garbage bag. plastic bag. It's not touching the skin, but it keeps the bag hot. Then the other leg, then the other arm, Then we wrap the whole body in a big thick woolen blanket. And what it does is it penetrates into the body. And sodium bicarbonate is the ultimate alkalizer. So it alkalizes from the outside. We usually keep them wrapped up for about an hour. So this is what we did with Elizabeth Cott. She immediately went on the no sweet diet. She immediately started to take the herbs. We did 5 sodium bicarbonate wraps in the week, so Monday to Friday. And then Monday to Friday the next week. She had green drinks every day. She went back to the doctor 3 months later, and the doctor said, just keep doing what you're doing and come and see me in 6 months. Now, what did he say 3 months before? You got to do chemotherapy immediately. Why did he say, keep doing what you're doing? Because all her cancer markers had come down, all her inflammatory markers had come down. She went back, it was probably about a year since her first visit, and one of the tumours had gone. And I think in her next year's visit, the other tumour had gone. So we're now 12 years later, and Elizabeth is doing very, very well. She's an amazing cook, so she's just adjusted all her beautiful Polish recipes to, instead of wheat flour, spelt flour, instead of butter, she uses olive oil or coconut oil, instead of cream, she uses coconut cream. I went and had a meal with her. Beautiful food. Beautiful food. In fact, when the doctors see her now with her yearly visit, they just scratch their heads. They can't understand it. They've never seen anything like it. Totally healed. We had another man, he had prostate cancer. He was 57. He wasn't really interested in coming to the retreat, but he was not interested in what the doctors were proposing. So he came, a bit reluctantly, but he knew he had to do something. He was a strawberry farmer, so a lot of exposure to chemicals. His wife and his daughter came with him. And in the initial consultation, I said, well, what you can choose to do, you can choose to have the wraps, and you can choose to have the hyperbaric chamber and the green drinks. And if you agree to, you can go on the fruit-free diet. And he's thinking about it, and his wife and daughter saying, he'll do it, he'll do it. Every time we served him a green drink, he'd look at it, and his wife and daughter would get him to drink it. It's an interesting story because he wasn't totally there mentally. He just did it because he didn't want to do the medical way. And they were just there for 1 week. 3 months later, he emails me, cancer-free. Now he's interested. But he also went on the yam cream. And he also went on some herbs to help reduce the inflammation of the prostate gland. If someone comes with breast cancer, like the lady that came with breast cancer and she did all this, she also applied castor oil compresses to the breast. Because castor oil penetrates very deep, and wherever it penetrates, it breaks up lumps, bumps, adhesion, congestion. Castor oil can break up a bone spur, and if it can break up a bone spur, it can break up a tumour. So as you can see, this is the basics when someone has cancer. No matter what type, no matter where it is, because all cancer loves and hates the same things. But with different types of cancers, there may be different things that you would do. Someone has stomach cancer, they can drink sodium bicarbonate. Now, you don't want to reduce your stomach acid, but it's only acid when you smell, think, start to eat food. Then the acid's released to break down your protein. So the person can drink a teaspoon of sodium bicarbonate and a cup of water first thing in the morning and last thing at night. And if someone has colon cancer, they can do an enema of the sodium bicarbonate and water. Because it only alkalizes what it touches. To drink sodium bicarbonate all through the day doesn't alkalize the tissues, but the green drinks do, because they're very high in their alkaline minerals. Are there any questions as we close? For the sake of the recording, I'll repeat any questions. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Now we buy 20 kilos for $20 at the hardware shop. But you can Google sodium bicarbonate wraps and Barbara O'Neill, and I demonstrate it. Yes? Yeah. Oh,
So,
do you know?
can I, we have people watching and they do not hear the question.
Okay, so I will repeat the question.
Yeah.
So regarding the hyperbaric chamber, the pressure, I can't tell you that. I don't have anything to do with how they do it. I'm sorry. But you could easily Google the average. Yes. Does this apply when you're with lymphatic cancer, no matter what the cancer is? The same thing applies.
When you mentioned the wraps were because of
5 litres of hot water. But it's quite a complicated procedure. That's why if you are considering it, it's good to watch how it's done, and it's good to do it on a girlfriend or your husband or, or your wife. You've got to play with it a bit and get it right. Yes? How will you target cervical cancer? Because as part of the reproductive system, it's very important to have the hormones balanced, and you can douche with sodium bicarbonate and water. You can get a douche from the chemist. You can order douche. So that's the main thing that you would do. Yes. You can do the sodium bicarbonate enema for colon cancer, but that's only if it's in the last part of the colon. Because again, it only alkalizes what it touches. And that's why Dr. Tullio Simoncini, he had a portacath in his patients and he would inject it straight into the cancer. But if you drink it, all it does is alkalize what it's touching. How can you... I don't know exactly how Dr. Tullio Simoncini did it. I just know that he had a portacath so that he could inject it straight in. How he would do it with bone, I do not know. Yes?
that you mentioned, what kind of rice, each one you recommend the other?
Okay, well, the substitute for wheat are the spelt, Enkenhorn and Emma. But here in America, you have an amazing online bread shop. It's called Simple Needs, KNEADS. And it has the most beautiful gluten-free bread I have ever tasted. Most gluten-free bread's not very nice. This young man put this together for his boy because he couldn't handle it. So it's Simple Needs. And it's all organic and it's all gluten-free. And they will ship anywhere. But I don't, that bread is now in a lot of Trader Joe's, Whole Foods. In fact, I'll be in North Carolina next week running meetings for him.
So then somebody mentioned that heavy metal.
Salt. Is salt contaminated with heavy metals? No, makes no sense. Heavy metals sink to the bottom of the sea. They're not in the water. And the ones that are contaminated are prawns, crayfish. They're the vacuum cleaners of the sea. And also some of the seaweeds grown, but not in the seawater. Can you drink the ocean water? Well, your body needs pure water. If I swim in the sea, I always have a few mouthfuls, but that's all you need, a few mouthfuls. Yeah? At any time is fasting considered? Yes. If someone's extremely underweight, I don't usually, but what we usually do and just on a high sweet diet, they're getting overload of fructose. So this morning for breakfast I had half an apple and I had a bunch of grapes. That's easy for the liver to convert that fructose to glucose. But when there's an overload, which a lot of people don't realise, fruit juices, sweet jams, sugars, and any pastry, breads that are sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, that is total overload of fructose. And so what the liver does is it stores it as fat. There's your fatty liver, because the liver is the only organ with fructose receptor sites. So the liver is the organ that's directly affected. So how can you heal from fatty liver? Stop the cause. Make sure you're not eating anything that has high fructose corn syrup in it. Yes, you can eat a fruit, but not a lot. Totally eliminate all the refined sugar from your diet. And often within a month there's no fatty liver. A did say last one, but this is the last. This is the good one.
Is there a link between soy and cancer?
Is there a link between soy and cancer? Only if the soy's been genetically modified. And I'll show you why. Because a lot of people don't understand this. A friend of mine did a thesis on soy. People ask her about the soy, and this is her answer: God made it good, man mucked it up. So here are 3 cells with estrogen receptor sites. This is the xenoestrogens, and the xenoestrogens are the estrogens that get broken down from so many plastics and chemicals, and it is 20,000 times stronger than plant estrogen. So how big is plant estrogen? Just sitting like this, that's the plant. But it is 20,000 times stronger. Sorry, I'm wrong. That's human. That's the human estrogen. Xenoestrogen, 20,000 times stronger than human. Human estrogen, 20,000 times stronger than plant. And remember Psalm 104 verse 14, God gave hers for the service of man. That plant estrogen just sits like that. And that plant estrogen is found in soy. So you can see we do not need to fear soy, because it's so small. But because it works with the body, it comes into the receptor side and knocks. And it says to the cell, do you need me? And the cell says, no, we've already got too much. So it will sit there. And what it does is it blocks that receptor side so that xenoestrogen can't get in. So can you see that soy plays a protective role? And yet if it knocks on the door and it's too low, it will come in. But the soybean grown in America today is called Roundup Ready. Because it's been genetically modified, problem number 1, to resist Roundup. So there are 5 doses. One farmer told me this. He said 5 times before harvest, spray with Roundup. That soybean is a dangerous soybean. 1, because it's been genetically modified. 2, because it's got all of those xenoestrogens in it. That soy will increase breast cancer. That soy will increase prostate cancer. So remember what my friend said? God made it good, man mucked it up. So it's a pity to throw the soybean out when you consider that it's a remarkable food. So just make sure it's organic. Because if it's organic, it will not be genetically modified. So I'd like to thank you for your very interesting questions. And I'd like to thank God that my voice is strong.
Yes.
Before we let you go sit, a day or so ago in our little church here, there was a little bit of a controversy related to how old you are. So somebody said, we saw that she's 93 years old.
No.
If you keep this lifestyle, you too can look like this at 93. No, I'm not 93.
Okay. So, but people swore that they saw an interview with you on YouTube and that you are 93 years old. And then in the car, can you share with us a little bit about the supplements you are selling?
Yeah, I don't sell any. That they're using artificial intelligence to make me say certain things. And so BarbaraO'Neill.com is the only true website here in America. And on Facebook, it's real Barbara O'Neill. Not the real Barbara O'Neill. Not a real Barbara O'Neill. It's real Barbara O'Neill. In fact, my daughter counted, there were 700 websites claiming to be mental.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what I push is lifestyle. So I don't sell products. Probably the closest thing to a product would be the comfort handbag. But you will not find me on YouTube pushing that. What I do is I lecture and show you how to do it.
Okay, so hopefully nobody's gonna buy any $300 bottle of supplements that will make you younger and clear your arteries and cure you of cancer, okay? It's not coming from Barbara, okay? Unfortunately, there have been scams, a lot of them related to this.
I saw one.
What?
I saw one. I was watching it on there, but your lips didn't coincide with the words, and I said, "There's something wrong here."
There's also a lot that say Dr. Barbara O'Neill, and I know I was like, that's not right.
Okay,
Yeah,
so.
I'm just a mother.
Yes. Thank you so much. Once again, I have a few things to wrap up here. Number one, how many of you cannot come here tomorrow?
No,
So we have 2, 3, maybe 5. Okay. So have you received the book today? Is anybody who is not here any of you who cannot come tomorrow who doesn't have the books? So you got the books, everybody got the books. Okay, so tomorrow we're gonna get the real Barbara O'Neill books, okay? And those will be for sale. And by the way, Barbara's here. There was some cost involved. We are not passing this to you, but any book that you buy is gonna be a blessing to her and her work, okay?
Amen.
Any donations you choose to give is going to be a blessing to her and her work. We are not asking for any of it, she's not asking for any of it, but I just want you to know that we as a church, as a facility, we are not keeping any of it. Secondly, we do still have some of the flyers, okay? They are on the table outside. If you want to give some away to friends and so forth, invite them to come with you, do that. If not, if you cannot come tomorrow, hope you can come on on Thursday and Friday. Barbara's also lecturing at the church in Elmhurst every night this week, but from what I hear, it's closed. There are different topics. It's the Elmhurst Seventh-day Adventist Church. It will be live streamed on their YouTube channel, and talk to me if you need information about that. Also, we have our own channel, Hope Route, which also we live stream and on Facebook. And another good news is that this Saturday at 1 o'clock,
streaming on YouTube?
we have a
YouTube.
luncheon
Research
that's
YouTube.
open to everybody. About a year ago, we heard what the U.S. Surgeon General said when he talked
the
about
YouTube channel
the
with-
epidemic of loneliness. You've heard about that?
Yes.
In the U.S., many people are lonely. So what can we do? Well, we can eat together. We can invite our neighbors to come here, anybody who wants to, and we love it. Okay,
That's
so
right.
if you want to,
This
there's a
Thursday,
flyer
all the
out
morning
there
will
by
be
the
wrap-up.
table. You're welcome to join us. The last thing I'm gonna say, this is my water bottle, okay? I love to drink water. It's good for me to drink water, right? What's the problem? It's a plastic bottle, okay? So you may have heard the information here, but what change are you gonna make? So I'm gonna have to get a new bottle, okay? And even better, if any of you want to give me one that's not too heavy and is healthy.
See, this is hard plastic and it's BPA free. So if you get the hard plastic,
Okay.
this plastic's convenient, doesn't break, but it's BPA free, so that's a healthy one.
Yes.
So BPA free plastic bottle, okay, you can bring me a gift tomorrow or next week, any other day. Thank you so much, and hope to see most of you tomorrow. And bring a friend. As I said, bring a family member, bring an enemy. And there was one more thing, what?
On YouTube, for those who are not going to be here tomorrow night, it should be on Hope Route YouTube.
Okay, so we have the YouTube channel Hope Route, HOPEROUTE, Hope Route, and the lectures will be on YouTube there, from here and from Elmhurst tonight. Okay, tonight is gonna be live streamed. You can Google that. Unfortunately, it seems that early on today, we had some issue with the sound, so there's a good portion of the video without the sound. But it got fixed during our broadcast. Again, thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow, or not Wednesday, or Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for lunch and one.
Thank you.
Thank you.